we're getting into the government shutdown. Clean versus filthy. Democrats are holding a government funding hostage over their partisan, unserious proposal. Republicans are ready to fund the government with a clean short-term CR. So this is the Republican CR, bipartisan support, 7-week clean extension, allows time for bipartisan appropriations process. That's it. The Democrats, they just decided to try to jam in these things, $1 trillion in demands to keep government open for just 4 weeks. They want $1 trillion for 4 weeks. Repeals $50 billion in an investment for rural healthcare, which is hilarious because if you watch my episodes daily, I show time and time again how Democrats are saying that Republicans, they're skyrocketing healthcare, they're gutting healthcare, they're getting rid of our healthcare, they're absolutely demolishing Medicaid and Medicare, and it's all the Republicans' fault. But yet they're trying to repeal a $50 billion investment in rural healthcare. Can't make this shit up. It puts non-citizens back on taxpayer-funded health programs and allows able-bodied non-working adults on taxpayer-funded health programs. Because the millions of Americans that Democrats claim that are losing health care, the majority are illegal immigrants, and there is a small minority of Americans who are completely and totally able-bodied, who have been sitting on government welfare for years, and in many cases for decades, getting free health care paid for by the taxpayer, and also free SNAP benefits paid for by the taxpayer, and the same with rent, utilities, and everything else. Even their Obama phones. Everything is paid for by the taxpayer. Well, not anymore. Not because of the big, beautiful bill. If you're able-bodied and if you have children over 14 years of age in the household, you have to go back to work. You have to work at least 20 hours a week if you want to have any chance in keeping your benefits. So a lot of people who are able-bodied, they're about to lose their benefits. And Democrats are screaming about innocent Americans. They're like millions of them are losing their health care. Of course, they don't give any context because Democrats never do. They like to drop a bunch of conclusions without backing it up with anything. And this is from Speaker Mike Johnson. The problem is that Democrats only want to meet to repeat their demands that we include free health care to illegal aliens, $500 million to prop up liberal news outlets, other leftist priorities, and a massive $1.5 trillion spending hike in a simple 7-week funding bill. They are holding government funding hostage. Meanwhile, House Republicans are doing our job in restoring regular order to the appropriations process. If Democrats fail to pass our clean, nonpartisan 24-page CR to keep the government open, the American people will know where the blame lies. And, like with federal agents not going to get their paychecks, the military are not going to get their paychecks, and it's all going to be the Democrats' fault because they need 60 votes in the Senate to pass the bill. And of course, we don't have 60 senators on the Republican side, which means we need, I think, 7 Democrats, which they're not going to sign on for, and they're going to close the government. And that's really how it's working. That's what it basically boils down to. And after this 7-week funding bill nonsense, let's say that they come to their senses and they actually sign it. You know what? Even if Republicans caved to them and gave them that $1.5 trillion, which would be utter insanity, though I wouldn't be surprised because they are Republicans at the end of the day. But if they were to give into it, do you really think that Democrats aren't going to try to jam through just even worse shit in 7 weeks when the next spending bill comes up? They're going to. Regardless, even if they give in to the Republican demands and then they open the government back up, they're still going to be asking for the same thing in 7 weeks, and they're just going to close the government down in another 7 weeks. So, hopefully your weekly, biweekly, whatever paychecks are not in jeopardy if you're working for the federal government. I just have a feeling that this government shutdown not only is going to happen, but it's probably going to last over 7 weeks because they've got the next year's spending bill coming up in 7 weeks, apparently. I don't know the details on that. I'm just kind of watching everything as it plays out in real time. So I guess we'll see what happens with that in the coming weeks. But yeah, the government shutdown is supposed to start on October 1st if they don't come to a deal, and it doesn't sound like they're going to because they are Democrats. Anyway, so he was replying to Craig Kaplan. Jeffries in U.S. Capitol today during recess, 6 days before government funding deadline, says Democrats are ready to meet with anyone, anytime, anyplace in order to avoid a painful Republican-caused government shutdown. Yeah, you see the stupid games that they're playing? And the reason why they're saying it's the Republicans' fault is because the Republicans, they control the House, they control the Senate, and they have the Oval Office. However, everyday normies may not realize that you have to have 60 votes in the Senate. We don't have a direct democracy all over the place. You got to get 60 votes in the Senate in order to pass the spending bill, and we don't have 60 Republicans. So those 7 Democrats that are refusing to play ball, well, all of them are really, because not a single one is willing to go with this CR bill. So it isn't Republicans. In fact, it is Democrats who are forcing the government shutdown. It's just the stupid, dirty games they play. Nothing new. It's just playing politics. It's really fucking frustrating politics. All right. So this is from, I don't even know, Rep. Vet Clark. Like Yvette Clark, what the hell are you doing with this? This is so stupid. Anyway, so she says, let's do some math. Trump needs Democratic votes to fund the government. Plus, Trump refuses to negotiate with Democratic leaders to get those votes equals a Trump shutdown. And replying to Trump after reviewing the details of the unserious and ridiculous demands being made by the minority radical left Democrats in return for their votes to keep our thriving country open, I have decided that no meeting with their congressional leaders could possibly be productive, which they wouldn't. It would not be productive at all. But anyway, I think I did leave a comment on this, doing a little bit of math on my own. Let's do some math. The American people need 7 Democrat votes so the military can get their paychecks. The American people have 0 Democrat votes. 0 Democrat votes equals government shutdown. So let's see. This is with regard to, okay, so this has to do with the government closure, or what the Democrats are demanding in order to keep the government open. So I'll go ahead and read it. I know it's really small. I tried to find a better version of this that wasn't so wide. I don't know why they screen grabbed it like this, but they did. So this came out from Donald Trump's Truth Social today at 11:12 a.m. After reviewing the details of the unserious and ridiculous demands being made by the minority radical left Democrats in return for their votes to keep our thriving country open, I have decided that no meeting with the congressional leaders could possibly be productive. They are threatening to shut down the government of the United States unless they can have over $1 trillion in new spending to continue free health care for illegal aliens, a monumental cost, force taxpayers to fund transgender surgery for minors, have dead people on the Medicaid rolls, allow illegal alien criminals to steal billions of dollars in American taxpayer benefits, try to force our country to again open our borders to criminals and to the world, allow men to play in women's sports, and essentially create transgender operations for everybody. These radical left views and policies is what allowed me to win the presidential election, including all 7 swing states and the popular vote, in a historic landslide. There are consequences to losing elections, but based on their letter to me, the Democrats haven't figured that out yet. They're trying to eliminate the popular $50 billion rural and vulnerable hospital fund, which was passed with only Republican votes and proudly signed into law by me. The Democrats in Congress seem to have totally lost their way. They obviously have no idea what it means to put America first or to make America great again. Of course they don't. All congressional Democrats want to do is to enact radical left policies that nobody voted for: high taxes, open borders, no consequences for violent criminals, men and women's sports, taxpayer-funded transgender surgery, and much more. Few people have voted for what they represent, which would lead to the destruction of America. Instead, people voted for common sense, and that's what the Republicans and your president, Donald J. Trump, stand for. I look forward to meeting with them if they get serious about the future of our nation. We must keep the government open and legislate like true patriots rather than hold American citizens hostage, knowing that they want our now thriving country closed. I'll be happy to meet with them if they agree to the principles in this letter. They must do their job. Otherwise, it will just be another long and brutal slog through their radicalized quicksand. To the leaders of the Democratic Party, the ball is in your court. I look forward to meeting with you when you become realistic about the things that our country stands for. Do the right thing, which they won't. They're the real obstructionists. Everything that they accuse the right of, they're already guilty of doing. So if you take that to the bank and you start listening to what they're saying, you start to realize they are truly evil indeed.